All right, so here are the results of my summons for both the Mythic Arval Banner as well as any of the additional summons that I did. So I did actually do a couple summons on the double special banner, trying to hopefully get something that I was missing. I think it was either Summer Freya or Hatari Nyla, but I did manage to pull a 5-star Summer Claude with no IVs. So automatically he's going to be a merge put into the one that I already have. And then I also did manage to pull a 5-star Camilla from the Tempest Trial Begins banner with, again, no IVs. But this will be a fuse for my current one, which at this point is actually more than just +1. She's right now about +3. For the actual Mythic banner, I managed to pull all 3 of the colorless units, but I did snipe mainly colorless and maybe a bit of blue as well. So I first got a Mythic Asker with plus HP minus defense, and this will be the new base for my current one, as opposed to the one that I got previously, which was plus speed minus res. I did also manage to get another copy of Elamine, again with plus HP minus defense. So unlike Asker, Elamine will just be merged into my current copy, which has plus res. And then Arval, I managed to pull with a beautiful plus res minus HP IV set. Not necessarily the most ideal IVs, but I'd say getting plus res really does help in terms of what I can do. I do want to try experimenting with Arval just to give them vantage to see if they actually become more tanky or more destructive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a total of 5 questions will be asked, and this will actually be more of a 3 technical 1 main question, and then an ongoing question with 4 sets of things. So the first question is, if I were to create a seasonal banner with only male units, what theme would the banner be and what would I choose? So this one I would actually try and steer clear of summer banners, simply because summer banners feel like they're way too easy to do. And the other thing is that a lot of summer banners tend to be more focused on female characters. It'll sell more, but if I was going to say that I wanted to create a summer banner, I would say maybe like do a duo of Asker and maybe Moosepell for the 2 gods, or maybe Asker and Duma. Moosepell and Duma would also be a good option. Definitely Asker being in the banner would also be a very good choice for that one. And then I kind of do want to see some of the Lagoos in swimwear. So like Kennegus or Ranulf as the other options. While I would say that Kiza would be an interesting choice, I think the game has actively noted that they are not necessarily male per se. They're male, but they're female too. So another option would be maybe Nasala or Tabarn, since they do have pirate but not summer. And then the other option would be going into a butler theme banner, so like a servant theme banner. And my main goal would be for this one Fates. I think that because Fates was the first game to ever introduce the butler and or maid class, I do think that it should have the first example of a butler banner. So the easiest ones to choose are going to be Arthur as the unlucky butler, Azama as the 4-star, the snide butler. The duo would be Saizo and Kaze as the ninja dual element butlers. And then as a kind of weird side note, I've always liked the idea of butlers being werewolves or being able to transform into animals. We've seen this kind of with Blaze Blue's Valkenheim. So one thought would be Keaton as a werewolf butler. So, and then the other kind of weird option that I would think of, we've had we haven't had a real idol one yet. We've had Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but that was way in the past. And so what I would kind of like to see is an actual boy band themed one with, oddly enough, the members of the Wolf Guard as the main members of the band. And this you can easily use a guitar as an axe. You can easily make a trumpet into a crossbow. You can easily change a violin's bowstring into a sword or a lance as a possibility. You could also make one of them be a magic unit and use the drums. But those are my thoughts for male only banners. Next up is the ongoing question. So each set counts as a question, and it would be, out of the two characters in the selection, which one would you like to see get a legendary alt first? So the first one I'm going to go with is Arvis or Trevant. So I'm going to give points valued. Arvis is a year 1. Trevant is a year 2 or 3. So I believe he's anywhere from 2 to 4. I don't think he's that recent, but I know that he's not anywhere farther past year 2. So Arvis gets the point on that one. Arvis has 2 PRFs in his B skill and his weapon with a refine. Trevant simply has a silver lance, not even a special inheritable, but just a silver lance plus. So 1 point goes to Trevant. Arvis has a good amount of his family or relatives as actual members of the legendary tree, being Sigurd, his half-sister Deirdre, his daughter Julia, his half-nephew Seliph, and Deirdre's former, I'm not really sure about that one, husband Sigurd. The only one that we're kind of waiting for on that one is Julius and Arvis. Whereas Trevant has no one to connect him to anything. There's no legendary for Quan, Ethelyn, Altina. Leaf is probably the closest one that I can think of in terms of ones, but even that's kind of a stretch. So while it may seem like a bad idea to pass over Trevant, I think the better choice would be Arvis, just because I feel like he has more potential in terms of a legendary hero. And this could easily be going 2 routes, the Emperor route, realizing his mistake, or he does a heel face turn at the end of Gen 1. Either way works. But next up would be Vantu or Zane. Now this one's a little bit tougher because while Zane does have an actual alt, neither of his versions, his Halloween or his Hatari, are part of the normal pool. So he's not technically summonable outside of just getting those Halloween or Hatari banners. Bantu has no alts, but he is part of the main pool, as in you can pull him in just about any redstone you want. But the reason I'd probably choose Zane is because his Halloween form comes with the Joker's Wild, which copycats the best of any stat. So that means that he is you can easily make that into what he does as a legendary unit, being able to kind of transform into anyone. So I give that point to Zane. It's a little bit harder this one's a little bit closer. All of these are generally close, in which I wouldn't mind getting any specific one, but I think that Zane would definitely be more interesting of a legendary hero to choose. Then on to part 2, where we have the Est archetype units of Binding Blade versus Blazing Blade. We have Sophia or Nino. Now, this one is a case of they both have the same number of alts. Both of them have their base form, and then their two seasonal forms or 2 alternate forms. Sophia has gone longer between her base form and her Halloween form. Meanwhile, Nino has gone longer in hasn't gone as long, but she's got her last alt was her winter alt on I believe year 3. So I'm gonna give this one to Nino just because I feel like I'd be interested in seeing her as a kind of like grow up version of herself, or maybe something like finally shedding the abuse that she received from her foster mother, and then breaking out of her shell and being able to just do what she does best, destroy everything. Sophia would be an interesting choice, but I feel like she's not necessarily an est. She's a pseudo est in that she comes over leveled very late in the game, but she doesn't have necessarily the right kind of potential. And then last but not least is going to be Takumi or Leo. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I want to give this one to Leo. Leo has fewer alts. Takumi has 4 versus Leo's 3. Most of Leo's are absolute garbage, where the only thing really worth anything in his base forms kit is the quick riposte 3 skill, and even that one's kind of like not necessarily worth it. His summer form is very, very weak to the point of being even weaker than his base form. And the only form that actually has a lot of value is his picnic form. And even that one's kind of like, meh. Whereas with Takumi, he has his base form comes with close counter, a very useful skill for inheritance. His fallen form as the Grail unit, that one comes with a very good skill in his refined scatty. He also has a New Year's form and then his summer form. Neither one of them is truly something to write home about, but he definitely got better treatment than Leo, I feel like. So I'd give Leo the entirety of the legendary focus, mainly just because I want to see what they can do with him. So that's it for the questionnaire as well as the summoning session. Thank you all for watching. If you like whatever content that I'm sending out, please consider subscribing. It really helps my channel. All right, and I will see you in another video. Thank you.